Good evening, everyone. Just going to wait for Charlie from the Night Fright team to come on shortly. Hopefully, he's on Instagram now. I know he had an appointment tonight, so let me try and add him in quick. Bear with. Good to see you on there, mate. So quite a bit coming up over the next couple of weeks. For those who know, obviously next week is Corgi January launch date. So on the 14th, on the Tuesday, I'll be going live in the evening. I'll see if I can get a couple of the lads on as well in terms of just an initial sort of thoughts of what the Corgi catalogue is like. And then hopefully later in the week, I will have Michael and David on from the Corgi team, providing that they can obviously join me that night as well. So, yeah, like I said, quite a bit going on. One of the things I'd obviously like to talk about at some point tonight, before obviously Charlie joins, because I think he's at hockey and obviously the weather's a bit traumatic in the south of London, even Mike, sorry, south of England. What's that rubbish top? Yeah, I'm celebrating. Because you might have noticed I'm all in West Ham tonight because we finally sacked our fraud of a manager. And in true West Ham way, we did it in a complete shambolic way. Yeah, nice one, David Sullivan. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted talking about football. So I'd like to have a little think about what your top five models on your wants list are. So every year, as a collector, I like to sort of draw up a top five things I'd like to have. Um, and yeah, I know it is a brave choice, Sam. Thank you for pointing that out. So it is really worthwhile having a bit of a target for what you want each year. So last year, one of my top five was the Dragon Wings Corsair with the folding wings, which I did manage to get. So have a little think about what your top five models will be. Also, what I'll be doing on the page is almost like a World Cup of best models for 2024. So over on the model hanger free forum. The guys over there do a model of the year. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up with eight models that were released in 2024, and then we'll play them off against each other completely randomly. And then until we get to a final, and we'll make a decision that way. And of course, we use Instagram and YouTube as well to do the voting process on that. You may have also seen last week that we may have had a little bit of a hiccup with our YouTube channel. Somebody very kindly deleted our YouTube channel. Thankfully, it sits in a holding zone for a number of weeks before it completely disappears. And the lovely people at YouTube decided to bring it back for us. So thankfully, that's back up online. But all the videos and whatnot are still all on Instagram, wherever. Thank you very much. See, look, there's a good man, Ian. OST. I'll probably pronounce that completely wrong. He's obviously loving the claret and blue. Come on, your irons. He's absolutely spot on. Well done, mate. And it's a great day to celebrate. I mean, unlike Jason's team, Ipswich, we've managed to make a decision on our manager. In all fairness, though, Jace, I probably would take Kieran McKenna at West Ham. I think he's a very, very good manager. And yeah, look, I don't want to divulge too much or go off topic. So like tonight we're going to have Charlie, who basically the founder and chief restorer, or well, I say chief restorer, he's obviously funding the Night Fright C47 restoration, which is currently at Coventry in the final stages. So, like I said, he's just out. I believe he had hockey tonight. So he was hoping to be back by 8 o'clock. So he's probably running a little bit behind in this weather. Let me try and see if I can add him in. Sorry, I have to keep the camera on now. So you may notice that I usually turn the camera off when I try and add somebody on. But if I turn the camera off, for some reason, when I'm trying to share the video, it goes wrong. There he is. He's back. Sweating. Looks like he's had a good workout. Good evening, Charlie. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How you going?
Not bad. Do you enjoy your hockey session? Hope you didn't
Yeah,
get too.
all good. A little bit curtailed by a bit of wintry weather, but all good, thanks.
Gosh, absolutely shocking. I mean, we've only got rain here down in Essex, but I know out in the West Country, well, I think you're out Reading way, aren't you?
Yeah, just about half an hour west of Reading. So yeah, a little bit of wintry weather this evening, but not too bad.
Brilliant. So look, I'm just doing a little bit of introducing there before you come on. Like, really, thanks for joining us tonight, mate. Obviously, I know we, dare I say it, we talk about model planes here, and you've got the privilege of owning and about to operate a very, very real one, a very big lump I had as well, because I had the privilege of sitting in Mayfly a few weeks back over at North Weald, and you don't realise actually how big an aircraft it is until you stand inside it. So good luck with that, because it's going to be one hell of a challenge, I'm sure. But so before, rather than me go on about it, do you want to sort of talk for anybody who wouldn't know what night fright is? Obviously, I've got a pretty good knowledge of it. Do you just want to give people a little bit of a backstory on how it all come about and what you're planning to do with it, basically?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Yeah, feel free to stop me and interrupt, ask any questions or point anything else. But yeah, absolutely. And, as per your point, I think that's one of the first things that strikes people is just how big an aircraft the C47 is. And I think the other thing that gets people is just the slope when they climb in the
Yeah,
back. I think, they're not quite aware how much of a climb that is up to the front. But yeah, for me and for Team Night Fright, this all started, crikey, way back in 2012.
wow.
So, I've spent most of my life growing up at Membury. We've got a business that we've had at Membury for, well, my father started in the 1970s, so some time. So I guess the history of Membury, me being a commercial pilot at the time, led me to look into what happened at Membury, which is obviously a former RAF and USAAF air base from the 1940s, from the Second World War. So, yeah, curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know what happened at the airfield, who was based there, what squadrons, what aircraft they operated, why they operated those aircraft. And, it turns out that there's obviously a lot of history at Membury, lots of different squadrons and aeroplanes rotated through there. But what's most synonymous with Membury is, of course, Troop Carrier Command, and specifically the 436 Troop Carrier Group, which, of course, operated C-47s. And I thought it would be rather nice if I could, give a little bit of a nod to the history of not just Membury, but the other troop carrier bases in Berkshire. So when you're driving down the road past Membury, you realise that something significant happened there, rather than, you see too many of these old airfields. They've got solar farms built on them, houses, they've been destroyed. That history's lost. And yeah, I couldn't bear to see that, really. So my initial thought process was, and you're going to laugh at this, is, can I find a C-47 that flew from Membury during the Second World War? And if I can, it would be really cool if we could have it on a big pole outside the gate at Membury Airfield, as a gate guardian, as a static exhibit. And, firstly, did I ever think we'd find an aircraft that genuinely flew from Membury during the war? No, not a chance. But it turned out, with the help of some very talented individuals, a local historian, Roger Day, who's written several books, one of which is called Membury at War, Tom Woodhouse, who's currently working on the restoration, and a few other individuals, we managed to trace the history of pretty much every C-47 that flew for the 436 out of Membury. Did they survive the war? If they didn't, what happened? How did they sort of succumb? And, if they did survive the war, where are they now? And long story short, ended up finding Night Fright, a C-47 veteran from Membury in the Second World War, failed to sell on eBay, and tracked it down in a scrapyard in Arkansas at Walnut Ridge in the USA. Made an approach to the then owners, Universal Asset Management, and secured the aircraft at the very end of 2012. And as I say, very, very early days, I just wanted to preserve the aircraft, save it, paint it, get it looking right, and have it as a gate guardian. And I don't know what changed, really. You've got a piece of history like that in your hands, and you think, well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right, really. So we thought, oh well, let's go one stage further. Let's get it flying. Let's get it airborne. So that's what we started to do in Florida at the back end of 2012. And I guess one thing led to another. Managing a project of that size, from one side of the pond with it being on the other is quite challenging from a time frame perspective. We weren't necessarily able to make the decisions and have the input that we wanted quickly enough. So we moved the project back to Coventry in 2018 to Ben Cox's team, Heritage Air Services, ex-Air Atlantique at Coventry Airport. And yeah, I suppose we've gone on one stage further than just getting the aircraft airborne. The aim now is absolutely to make Night Fright, the most authentic and probably the finest example of a C-47 operating and flying in the world. So yeah, fast forward quite a few years. That's where we are at the beginning of 2025, with the aircraft probably 2 to 3 months away from flight.
It's fantastic. Now, I remember all those years ago, actually, and I might be wrong in thinking this, that Night Fright was towed down a highway somewhere in Florida at some point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the back, was
No,
it on the back, literally being on the back of a lorry being towed down the road. And I don't know how I remember that, but I must have followed it from the very, very early onset of when you purchased it. And obviously when the plans started to change just before you shipped it over to Coventry. And I can't believe that's 2012 and how quickly just like that it's flown by. So in terms of Night Fright, at the moment, obviously it's at Coventry. I remember seeing last year, obviously it had its engine runs. So everything is pretty much on track for a summer launch.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, firstly, you're absolutely right. We did move it down the interstate in Florida. That was from one of the main airports, Punta Gorda, near Tampa in Florida, to a smaller airfield where some of the work could take place. So yeah, that's kind of one of the iconic photos we've got from our time with the aircraft in Florida, and pretty cool and something you don't see every day. But yeah, pretty much that's kind of where we're up to. Everything's on track for a launch absolutely this summer. Hard to be specific, and I know there's been a lot of publicity about us aiming to fly at certain points, hit certain events, and it's obviously not lost on us that we haven't hit the timelines that we want to, and people obviously ask questions as to why we haven't been able to achieve that. And the short answer, or not such a short answer, is that it's just a massive project, and it's all funded directly by ourselves. So the financing is one thing. Finding the original parts and the people to be able to do the work to the standard that we're looking for is challenging. So it's a constant battle, something that takes time. Rebuilding an aircraft of the size of a C47 from the ground up is a serious undertaking, if you're doing it to the standard that we're doing it to. And it just takes time. And the short answer is we just want to get it right, and we will get it right. And if that means that it takes a little bit longer than we would like, then it'll be worth the wait. But yes, absolutely, a flight in the spring, early summer of this year is absolutely on the agenda. We'll be on the airshow circuit after that. We'll probably have a reasonably sensible summer whilst we get used to operating the aircraft, working together as a team. And then we've got some exciting plans for 2026 as well.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. So for those who may recognise it, obviously, was it Warbird Workshop it's on? Because it's taken different iterations, isn't it? The More 4 program.
Yes. So we did an episode on, I think it was actually series 1 of Warbird Workshop. I think it might even go under a different name now.
Yeah, so I thought, because I think it changed to Warbird Workshop from episode 2, and I forget what the first series was called, because obviously it was run by the guy who lives in Norfolk, whose name escapes me now, who's the guy who who come up with the concepts of it. I'll try and see if I can attach a link to that when I obviously share the video, because I think for anybody who's sort of unfamiliar with Night Fright, I mean, your journeys over to Canada look, dare I say, pretty arduous. I think you'd have to have a pair of big ones in order to go out in that weather with drills, taking bits of aircraft off and trying to package them up to send them back to then go back through them again. But I found that absolutely fascinating how you went out there and literally, obviously, you stripped. That's it, Nick Coleman. Thanks, Chris Wallen. He's obviously he's put that on there. That is one hell of a job that you did in it's like minus 20 odd degrees, wasn't it, when you went out there?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not sure what the rules are, but hey, Chris, good to see you online. And yes, insurance all sorted. I'm a few quid lighter, but yeah, that's all done. So all good on that one. Yeah, that was an epic adventure to Canada, and just sort of goes back to the point I made earlier, the lengths you have to go to get these original parts. So having to buy another DC3 or C47 to acquire the parts we need in Canada, and as you say, spending a couple of weeks out there in minus 25 was a hell of an adventure. Bit of a shock to the system. Certainly challenging working conditions, but yeah, I guess just goes to show the lengths we want to go to maintain that accuracy and that authenticity. So yeah, we're very lucky that Warbird Workshop have come on board and captured that for us. Hopefully they're not going to mind me saying that they're still following us, so we've still got camera teams tracking progress. So I dare say that you'll see something shortly on that as well.
Fantastic. I know obviously there's another series in the pipeline. I don't know what was on it. Obviously, I think they share it sort of closer to the time, but oh, that's great to hear. So let's talk a little bit about memory. So I'm assuming, and the magic of assumption, the old adage, make an ass of you and me or whatever it is, and they often use that in retail. But are you going to operate it from memory?
Um, the short answer to that is yes and no. It's a little bit of a sore subject. Yes, I would like to operate the aircraft from memory. Is that the most practical place to operate it from? In all honesty, probably not. There is enough room to take off and land a C47 at memory. We did it with the Guy Martin program in 2019. Which you probably saw, but there are some other things at memory that make operating a large warbird not ideal is probably the best way of phrasing it. And whilst I have looked into that extensively and even looked at hangering the aircraft there, we've had plenty of local objectors who are unhappy at the prospect of us doing that. So no pun intended, we've parked that idea for now. What I wouldn't rule out is having the aircraft at memory at various points throughout the summer for open days, exhibitions, and that kind of thing. So I would say watch this space. But yes, we have every intention of getting the aircraft there in some capacity.
Oh, that's fantastic because I think obviously it is its natural home, but unfortunately you can't. How can I say? Well, I think they call them NIMBYs, didn't they? Where they don't like anything like that. I think we got a relatively local World War One aerodrome near us up in Malden, a World War One called Stomaris, and I think a lot of the objections around that area there's very much limitations on the traffic they can use there in terms of shows they do. And I know it's a real pain in the backside. As soon as you get one objection, they all seem to bloody come out the woodwork, don't they? But look, I mean, it'd be lovely to see it at Membry, and certainly, a trip down the M4 for me to come and have a look up close would certainly be on the agenda. So obviously, one of the things, being on dare I say it, I will never call them. I'll never call them toys. They're replica die-cast models in 1/72 scale. For anybody who's interested. So obviously your aircraft was made by Corgi was it the end of 2021, early 2022?
Yeah, that's right.
So first and foremost, did you get the what you call it, the pre-production model of that? Did they give you that, or did they just give you a production model?
I think at this stage I've actually only got a production model, although I'm pretty sure I could get some of those early pre-production models. They have offered that kind of thing. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
I haven't pushed them overly, but yeah, they're great to work with. They love the detail like we do. So yeah, I think it was a perfect match, really.
That was good. And I know, obviously, in the early days, I sort of directed you towards Corgi to get that sort of. I thought it was a brilliant idea to get it made. But I mean, one thing I would note, and I'm guess anybody who's watching would know, is it sold out like hotcakes. It went like hotcakes. Is there any plans, a bit like the Lancaster that's in Lincolnshire, Just Jane? Obviously, they commissioned 1,000 run of Lancasters for their own personal thing. Is there any plan to get any more made?
Um, yes, I don't know how much I'm allowed
Oh,
to say, so I'm not going to
oh,
give away too much. But yes, there is something in the works to do something, but it might have a slight twist, if that makes sense.
that's really, really good. I think, look, I think for me, like, I'm a massive collector, but at the time I weren't in a financial position to do it. And it's one I picked up last year, actually, really late, and it's a spectacular model, absolute brilliant. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong sticking a set of D-Day stripes on a Dakota or a C47. Obviously, you've got to be mindful what you call them, because obviously it's Dakota in the RAF and a C47 Skytrain in the US Army Air Force, of course. But so how did that all go about? So what exactly was the process? I think it'd be interesting for people who watch to find out how the process of how it was first commissioned and made, and the steps that Corgi had to take in order to make the model.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, relatively simple, dare I say it, from my perspective. I mean, they're obviously very experienced at doing what they do, and as I said, they love the detail as much as we do. So, I had lots of sort of phone, team, Zoom conversations with the contact there. There were lots of sort of images exchanged over email. We created sort of shared folders and dropped historic images of Night, Fright, and other examples of C47s in the folder to work with them on. But obviously they're no stranger to C47 models, having made them before. So dare I say it, they've already got the majority of the tooling and molds. But one unique feature of Night Fright is, of course, the para racks, which is the
Yeah.
first time they've ever had that on one of their models, which I think really excited them and obviously really excited us. So they had to go away and build custom tooling for that, which was probably the most complicated part of the process. So we shared lots of images of the para racks and the para packs, and exchanged feedback and comments, and they sent us images and videos of the model at various stages of the production. So yeah, constant engagement, but they're great at what they do. And most of the time, once we give them the info and the research we've got, they just go away and get on with it, to be honest.
So talking about power racks actually, because that's one of the questions I sort of had. Will Night Fright actually wear them, or would it have the capacity to wear them? Or is that just something that isn't really worthwhile doing?
Um, no, at this stage, to be honest. First of all, they're extremely rare in terms of actually acquiring them. There are a couple of sets out there that probably could be acquired, albeit for a hefty price.
Mm.
And then obviously you would have to physically fit them to the aircraft, and we haven't got that infrastructure in place at the moment. Could we do it? Yes, we could do it. And then there would be the legalities of
Yeah.
flying, I would think, with the para packs. I don't see any issue operating with the racks themselves, because that's physically attached to the aircraft. But I dare say that the CAA might have something to say about us flying around with the packs attached. I don't know. I've not looked into it. I'm speculating. So
No,
the
no.
answer to your question is not at this stage.
But obviously that would also change the terms on insurance and stuff like that, wouldn't it? I guess it would be classed as a modification to the aircraft and God knows what else, and it would just create complete and utter chaos. So in terms of the power racks, obviously I'm not massively familiar with that. It was the first time I've ever seen it on a C47. What was the whole? Would they literally just drop like almost like a bomb rack with equipment with a parachute on?
Yeah, pretty much. Doubtless there's people listening and watching that are more expert than I am on that kind of thing. But yes, absolutely. Some of the additional equipment not carried by the paratroopers would be released in the packs. So there's a panel on the fuselage of the aircraft inside the cargo door, just underneath the jump lights, that would control the release of the packs, and that would be released after the paratroopers have exited by the crew chief.
Oh wow! So look, I had no idea that they even existed. Like I said, it's the first time I've ever seen them come up on the aircraft, and I thought it was a really, really brilliant addition. So somebody, obviously, lots of people are trying to ask questions as well, and I'm trying to keep up as we go. So Michael, who is a World War One expert, I say expert, I don't want to blow too much smoke up his arse. He's just asked. He said, "What happened to Night Fright after World War Two?"
Sure. Yeah. Well, Michael, like most equipment used during the war, I suppose, deemed surplus to requirements at the end of the war, ferried back across to America, ironically back to Walnut Ridge in Arkansas, where we picked up the aircraft in 2012. And yeah, then went off to have a second life, I suppose, a commercial life, hauling freight to cargo. I've got records and images of hauling anything from live poultry to car parts, but also trained naval navigators for the French Navy, so came back across to France for a period, carried passengers in the US for various airlines, probably the most famous Piedmont Airlines. So, the aircraft had various modifications, an air stair door to carry passengers. They moved the Astrodome further rearward to train the navigators whilst they were all in the fuselage on their various missions and training sessions. So, we can see images that document that, but also we found evidence of all of those things as part of the restoration.
Oh, fantastic. Has the dome been moved back to its original place, or has it been kept in the place that it was sort of pushed to?
It's absolutely been moved back to its correct position.
Well done, that man. Well done, that man. I mean, look, from what I've seen, you are being incredibly meticulous. I don't even know I managed to get that word out after a long day at work, to be fair. So, no, it's looking like an absolute beauty, and I cannot wait to see it out and about on the circuit. In terms of other bits, so obviously I know you had massive plans around D-Day, but like I guess the old the aviation analogy is, it's with any restoration, it will be done when it's ready. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? You can put timescales on it, but with a big ass plane like that, and I know you said about the slope, that thing really caught me out when I got onto Mayflight North Wheels. How when you get to the cockpit, how high up you are as well.
Yeah.
That really threw me because when you look at it from the ground, it doesn't look that high. But when you're up there and you look down, you think you've got to taxi this bloody thing up and down taxiways and get onto the runway. It really really threw me. But yeah, so sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent there. So um, in terms of the aircraft itself, we'll hopefully see it at a few shows this year. I'm guessing you're going to plan to fly it yourself at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. So I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of DC3 time myself. I did my rating back in Florida, yikes, a long time ago now, and have had the opportunity to fly various C47s in the UK, including Mayfly at various sort of air shows, events, fly pass, and obviously some of the memorial drops, in Normandy and in Holland. For the various anniversaries. So yeah, can't wait to add Night Fright to my logbook. I've obviously ironically not had the chance to fly Night Fright yet because we've been disassembling it ever since 2012. So yeah, can't wait. Super excited. We're probably not going to announce anything specific in terms of plans for 2025 because I touched on it earlier. We said we're going to do this, that, and the other, and as you rightly say, things change. It doesn't happen. So we're not going to commit to anything, but there will definitely be some flying this year.
Fantastic. I know it was initially, it caught me by surprise. I was going to go to Clacton Air Show, and I know it probably jumped the gun a little bit. They announced Night Fright to be there, and I didn't think it would make it, but I was also quite excited. But unfortunately, the weather was horrific that weekend in August, and we blew it off, unfortunately. But no, look, I'm sure I speak for everybody who's following on the page. How excited we are to see another proper veteran D-Day Dakota, or shall I say C47 Skytrain out and about on the circuit. And I'm sure your wallet is certainly feeling the pinch at this moment as well. After going from static to airworthy, I'm sure there's a few head slap moments in there. But believe you me, I'm sure everybody, all the millions of people around the country and Europe who will get to see it, will be incredibly thankful for all your efforts when you get to that stage. Look, I'm not going to keep you too long. I want a short and punchy one tonight. I know you've been out playing hockey, and I'm sure you're completely knackered by now as well after another long day. But look, thanks for coming on, mate. It says here, I'll say Chris Warren just said, would be great if Neil and yourself could bring the cockpit section along to the Americans Day at Duxford on the 25th of the 7th. I don't know if that's possible for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We've got a travelling ground display. So Chris, yeah, let's touch base on that. We've obviously got each other's details. So yeah, no problems on that. And I saw Daniel pop up as well. So hi, Daniel. Good to see you on too.
And yeah, look, Charlie, like I said, I didn't want to keep you too long tonight. I know you was really ill in December when you went to try and do it then. So look, I'm really, really, really thankful for you coming on tonight. What I'll do, I'll share the link to the Warburg Workshop episode on the page as well, and I'll whack it on YouTube as well. I don't know if I can tag the Night Fright YouTube channel on there as well. But look, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. I wish you all the best, and hopefully I'll get a chance to get down to Membry if you can get it down there at some point this year.
Yeah. You're more than welcome if you want to come to Coventry to see the work in progress as well. You're more than welcome to do that. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks to everyone for the continued support. It's great to have the support of the community out there. And as you say, that's exactly why we're doing it, so it can be seen and be heard. So yeah, can't wait to share it with everyone.
All those sleepless nights and, like I said, head slap moments will certainly be worth it when she takes to the air, Charlie. I'm sure I'll speak for us all when we really can't wait to see her out and about. But look, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it coming on tonight. Wish you all the best, and hopefully, if I can get a chance to get up to Coventry, I'll try and see if I can.
Anytime. Speak soon.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much, Charlie. All the best, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Take care. So thanks, guys, for everyone for watching. I'm doing it. Oh, it was very, very short and sharp one tonight because I'm planning on doing one next week as well, and hopefully tail end of next week once I get confirmation for both Michael and David at Corgi. In terms of other bits, I don't know if anybody else has got anything they want to add tonight. You're more than welcome to join the call just at the end here for a little bit. If anybody wants to add anything more to tonight's proceedings, but I'm quite happy to wrap it up at this point. Which like I said, massive thanks to Charlie for coming on tonight. A really interesting chat, a really interesting aircraft, which I cannot wait to see. And if anybody hasn't got the model, I suggest you have a good look for it on what you call it on the on it. Probably eBay's the best place to look for it now. It's a very, very rare aircraft that comes up. So, like I said, next Tuesday is the big Corgi announcement. I'll try and do some a live on the Tuesday evening with a few of the boys. Unfortunately, Daniel couldn't join tonight. He's got a few issues he needs to resolve. But hopefully Dan will be on next week, and I'll try and see if I can get Sam on if he's still on now. I know Andy Curtis, the plane model, wants to come on at some point as well. So try and get a few different faces on, so I'm going to just listen to me. Look, that's it from me tonight. It's a short and sharp one, but hope you enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for coming on. I'll speak to you soon.